Hey!
Hi.
Boy, Will, do I have a treat for you.
Oh, I'm excited, bro.
A really nice Christmas present in March that I thought I'd give you. I thought I'd really bless you. Are you ready for it?
Gift. I am ready.
All right. Everybody, last episode we made a promise to you. We said we were going to do something for you, and lo and behold, we uphold our promises here at Survivor Stockwatch. I present to you the Crackpot Theory graphic. Welcome, everybody, to Survivor Stockwatch, Episode 3. Let's go. I am Jack. This is Will.
Hello.
Chris, welcome. Jay, welcome. Will, how are we doing?
You're way too excited for an episode that was
I just gave you a golden gift.
You did, bro. That made up for this episode.
It definitely did.
No, the episode wasn't bad. We'll get to it. But Jack, how have you been? You been good?
I've been great. You know, it's good. It's tiring. You know, I just got back from spring break, getting back into the swing of things. You know, so
I hear
hanging in there. What about you?
School's going really well. Bloomin' Onion University. No, I do have some exciting news. So my band, we're opening for this Angelo Moore, who is the frontman of popular 80s ska band Fishbone. I don't think I was legally able to say that, actually, now that I think think about it.
Interesting.
So
we'll have to restart the stream.
Yeah. I break my NDAs here at Survivor Stockwatch. That's
yeah. Hope you had a good hope you had some good times as well. All right, everyone. We just had an episode, surely. We had a time and a half this Wednesday on Survivor 46 with the elimination of Randon. It's a tough issue to deal with. Our hearts go out to you, and you know we cannot understate that no matter what, an injury on Survivor could always pose the risk of getting you medically evacuated. And lo and behold, Randon was the subject of that this week. And so it sucks to see you go. But we do have a little image there that I think, classic Ko-Rong Survivor fans should know.
Yeah. No, Randon was sad, man, because he had a surprisingly good strategic head on his shoulders. I don't think he would have made it far, but he was really starting to surprise me last episode with him trying to work with Venus and a lot of the stuff that came out in his exit interview where he tried giving her the Beware advantage, and he tried doing that, but just couldn't because of his injury and production and vague rules. I kind of want to see more, but I also feel like we're not going to see Randon on Survivor ever again, unless it's a Philippines-esque season, which sucks.
It's quite tough. You go out there, you want to play a good game, and to be fair, Randon was playing a pretty decent game. He had an advantage. He made a secret partnership with Venus. Things could have really turned out for the better for him, but we never really predicted him going as far as other people in the game, and lo and behold, this is where we're at. This is where we're at with this, and there's nothing else to say.
Nope.
And so we move on to Survivor MacGyver Hunter, who had a really interesting episode. Like a really, really interesting episode. You want to explain?
So I moved Hunter down. Hunter was my number one for a while or not number one. He was my number one last episode because it felt like just enough, but not too much.
Right.
This episode felt like way too much for Hunter to where it's really starting to worry me because he's kind of giving off similar vibes to Carson of being very prepared for the game, which I don't think is a good sign for a winner. Great for longevity. He's getting clocked as a early on threat, which I don't think is immediately terrible. Because he's also on a tribe with Soda and Tevin, who I feel like could also get the brunt of the threat level. But I feel like he's going to be a player a lot of people will look out for into the merge. And so I feel like that the fact that it's too positive and too good and too uplifting for Hunter does worry me, but not that much.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think I want to bring this up from Chris as well. We saw Venus speaking negatively, saying that Hunter is this golden boy survivor MacGyver. And you really never want that if you're us, right? If you're someone trying to discern who a winner is, when you get a moment like that from another player about one of your winner contenders, it raises some red flags, as in there's a little bit of holes here. And so while, yes, Jay, there are definitely some hints for a classic winner edit here, classic doesn't exist anymore, to me at least. Classic has been thrown out the window in favor of unexpected and unconformed. And I think what we're seeing with this is that exact striking difference. This Hunter's edit is that really nice, clean, classic winner edit, with the casual undermining, that's not, that's something that happens, obviously. But the new era, there's new people that can win. Does that mean we think Hunter won't win? No. We still think he has a good chance. It's just a little bit more wary now than we were before.
But the fact that Venus said something about Hunter, I think, does kind of minimize the wariness of it, because Venus also spoke negatively about every single tribe mate, except for Randon, I think. But even then, like last episode, it was more she was weary of him.
Right.
And so the only reason why I'm kind of close to dismissing it is because I do think a winner's on Nami, because of the content that they're getting. I think Siga is just way too invisible, and Yanu is way too negative.
We'll get to Siga later, and I honestly do agree with you. I think it's either going to be someone from Nami, or I think it's going to be one person from Yanu. I do think there are a couple people on Siga that can still grab it, but right now, just based on that overall tribe aura, I agree. I think it's very slim.
Oh, yeah.
But we move to Liz, who, for all the crap we give Liz for owning multiple businesses and flaunting it to everybody, she's
not last.
Not last. Not the worst episode for Liz. A decent episode, some may say, for Liz. Does that eliminate her for you?
I still think Liz is gone. I don't think she's a winner, just because I feel like if there was a path, because I'm mentioning this because I was reading Randon's exit interview where he mentioned that like Liz was playing a more intentional game that we're giving her credit for. If that was true, if she was the winner and she was trying to play up the I'm a business owner, I don't need the money so you can take me far, I feel like we would hear her talk about that as her strategy. Instead, it's just been I love my tribe, which still eliminates her.
Right.
However, I feel like there's a slight chance that she could start to develop and become a more powerful player or more active player as time goes on. But with the tribe right now, especially now that Randon's gone, I feel like Liz is just kind of on her own.
Right. And I think it surely protects her until she starts making those big moves, right? If she is really using the strategy of trying to become less of a threat, it only goes so far, because once you start doing things in the game that people are like, they're doing things, they have a shot at this. That's when people would start targeting her potentially. So absolutely. To go back to Hunter real quick. Hi, Frank. Good to see you. If Hunter's like Carsonetic coming in fourth can't make fire, that would be crazy, because I 100% agree. The one difference is Hunter literally knows how to make anything. So I feel like if he didn't know how to make fire and lost, that would be insane.
But I could see that happening. Not the edit so far, but like it's the classic rule of reality TV where if your occupation helps you in the game, then you lose, right?
Would you say that it's a crackpot thief?
Hunter lose fire final four. That winner.
My goal for making that graphic was to make it just as stupid as possible. I'll make it just really as funny as possible. Yeah. Back to Liz. We'll see how it continues on with Liz. But I'm not ruling her out yet. I still think there's a tiny little sprinkle of hope.
Really?
It's barren. It's rough.
I kind of eliminated everyone 12 and under, honestly.
I have as well, except for her, and we'll get to that. We move to Soda. You're going to see a very familiar picture pop up because now we're at the point where we're at hour and a half episodes. And so people are starting to not have confessionals. And so that was one of them. And really didn't have a screen time at all. So she is the ghost. And yes, I know, Jay, but
in a poor episode 2. Come on, Jack. I'm
just
supposed to be the unbelievable.
Just wait. All right, next episode. All right, this is my promise. Next episode, if Liz just has she has to have a great episode next episode, right? She has to have a really strong episode. If she doesn't, I'll eliminate her. All right? There's my word for it. But again, Soda has nothing, and it's coming at the point where I actually eliminated Soda. I eliminated Soda. I didn't eliminate Liz.
That's how it works, Jack. You can't eliminate 11 but keep 12.
That's just how it crumbles.
That's not how it's stocked. It's your rules, bro.
It is my rules, and I just made a change to the rules.
So now that we're on Soda, someone who was invisible throughout this episode, I feel like the whole point of this episode was just like a sitcom filler episode, because it's really hard to edit a narrative when someone gets pulled from the game randomly. Yep. And I feel like it also makes sense why Siga was kind of getting shafted last episode. I feel like the edit last episode kind of makes sense now with retrospect, because it's hard to build up, plans and strategy and whatnot and build up a narrative only for the next episode for nothing to matter outside of what's happening on Yanu. And so I feel like this is the only episode where being invisible kind of doesn't matter except for one player. And we'll get to that one player eventually.
Interesting.
But I still am writing off Soda just because I feel like we don't really hear much about her outside of episode 1, where she was getting contradicted from Hunter. I feel like she's already making enemies, and I feel like, I don't know. I feel like the edit is trying to make her seem more villainous. I feel like the edit is trying to get us to root for Venus of anyone on that tribe except for maybe Hunter. And for that reason, I feel like Soda, we would see more.
I absolutely agree with you. I think you're right. Absolutely right. Episodes like this where players get medevac, it's very tough. And so we saw a 10 visibility from Banu. I'd give him a 10 if that was in the rules of Edgic, but it's not. and we saw a lot of invisible players, but I think rightfully so. There was a lot of there was the journey we had to go on. There was the immunity challenge. There was the entire Yanu camp, and it raises the question of why specifically these players get cut out and why these players get cut in, and that's what does it for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they were truly important, we would hear from them on Nami, and except for one player, we'd hear from them on Sega, right?
Yeah.
And to be honest, Soda for me has fallen off completely, and I do not think she has a chance at winning the game.
She was never even on for me, bro.
You had her at 9.
I had her at 9, bro. You had her at 5. All right, I put her from
She
9
had
to
a decent
12.
premiere.
Premiere was not that good.
It was decent.
It was okay.
It was decent.
All right, let's get.
We moved to another ghost. Tevin moves down a little bit, just because he was invisible. Because we already kind of established with episode 1 that Tevin was a pretty good narrator and was going to obviously be very important in the season. But to be honest, beyond kind of making the power structure of Nami, we haven't really seen how important Tevin is going to be. And I think a decent amount of people are looking at his on-paper edit and are saying, oh yeah, this guy's got a great chance at winning Edgicly, because look at the Edgic strip. You got CP4, middle of the road 2, under the radar 1, or under the radar positive 1, if you want to throw it that way. It's a really great strip, but we still have doubts.
Yeah. I still think when you're getting a minute-long confessional in the premiere, I don't really like those winning chances because it's just way too obvious from just an Edgic point of view.
It's a tiny little death sentence.
Exactly. It's kind of like Carolyn from season 34.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I do like Tevin a lot. I still have him drafted. I do not regret drafting him. But I feel like there are small cracks that are slowly forming with Tevin, and so I'm way more wary because I could see him being a huge target going into the merge as kind of the Nami threat.
Not Hunter, do you think?
Not Hunter, because I feel like Tevin comes across as more gamey. Hunter doesn't.
Yeah.
Hunter has the perception where he's a bigger, harder beat in the end. But there's still the perception of Hunter's just a good old boy, he's going to make fire, be the provider, and was only really clocked by Venus, who doesn't really have a lot of stock on her tribe so far. I feel like Tevin, it's easier for people to be like, all right, that guy's labeling people. Plus, Tevin's also close with Soda and also close with Hunter, and is kind of making that onion. And so, I don't know. I feel better with Hunter.
This is an interesting take from Jay here, and that has a little bit of validity, don't you think? I mean, besides Erica, who was intentionally under-edited for her story, everybody else has had a confessional every single episode. I mean, one top contender is on there, right? We all know it's Maria, and we ruled out Tim and Soda. But Tevin didn't have a confessional, and so the question is Tevin eliminated for you, or are you still holding out a little bit of hope?
I'm still holding out hope because this episode was a medevac, and so I feel like we were always going to hear more from Liz, Randon, and Venus. Liz because she went on the journey, Randon because he was the medevac, and then Venus because she was close to Randon and wanted to get that beware advantage. And so that's I don't know. I feel like there could be more cracks, and there are cracks here with not getting a confessional. I will admit that, but I don't think it's big enough with the circumstances for me to go completely rule out Tevin. And if I do rule out Tevin, it's not because he didn't get a confessional this episode.
Fair enough. We go to Venus, who is the Aubrey to Randon's Neil. And a positive episode from Venus in losing her ally. Is this an Aubrey-like trajectory? Not in the sense of exactly Aubrey's game, but starting out in a horrible mental place, overall place, and rising from the ashes?
Yeah, but did Aubrey win?
That's fair.
I feel like people overrate Venus because they mix up rootability and likability for winning potential. Venus 100% is like the underdog on Nami, and I feel like everyone in some capacity is rooting for Venus, if not her, then like Hunter. But I feel like people overrate her chances because she, again, starting out from a very strong deficit with her tribe is very hard to escape from. And I feel like, I don't know, I feel like she still has the personality clash that's going to happen once they merge, if she makes it to the merge, where people are going to be like, yeah, Venus makes a lot of strong points, but she's just gamey, right? And I still think back to her and Tevin talking being a secret scene and not in the episode, which I feel like was very important to Venus' story.
Very, very important.
And people who like do these edgics, they're like, that should have been in the season. But the fact that it wasn't should say something. And
it's a clear sign.
I'm raising Venus up. I'm not writing her off yet. She's number 10, but I cannot. People have her at like number 2 and 3. And I don't see that.
I've seen some people say she is the far and away number 1 contender, and I think you're right. People kind of mix that rootability, likability, and screen time with actual true winner potential. 2 things here. Number 1, Chris, this is funny. Who will be Venus's new Serena? Maybe it's nobody. And then, what do you think of this? Do you think Venus is a tribal counselor? I personally say no, because I feel like she would be taken out in some regard, either earlier on because she's been an outcast, or later on because she survived that and she's now a threat because of it.
Yeah, this isn't Survivor 45 where I'm saying everyone's a losing finalist. No, but
yeah.
I feel like if Venus was a losing finalist, I think her story is going to be very similar to Jake from last season, where she sees the power structure. She knows what to do. She just can't rally the troops. And I could kind of see that. I could kind of see Venus being like, y'all, Tevin is running the game. Hunter's running the game. Charlie's running the game. Whoever, in the merge. Or we got to get out Q. We got to get out Tiffany. Who cares? And then everyone's just like, well, we don't trust you. So we're just going to stick to our plan. And I could kind of see Venus being that like non-factor later on. But at the same time, I don't think that's likely. I think instead she's just going to try to make a move, and I think that'll backfire. And I think that's more or less going to be Venus' story coming into the merge.
Absolutely. We move to Siga.
What's up?
And hey, we can now talk about kind of the whole Siga backlash complaints, in that the content from the tribe, besides Ben on the journey that we got, was from days before the events of this episode. And it raises that really, really important question. Does anybody on this tribe really stand a chance at winning if that's what we're getting? And I'll save that one for a little bit later. But what do you think?
I don't think it's as unlikely as people are making it out to be. I think what could happen, and this is a bit of a crackpot theory. You can save the thing.
Oh, no, here we go.
Now, this is going to be long-winded, but I feel like the whole narrative of the season could be that all the big power players, all the big threats could get voted out mid-merge. I think back to Survivor 43, right, where all of the really big movers and shakers, just go out back to back to back to back to back. Noelle went out, and then Cody, and then Carla, and Jesse. That was terrible, and then it kind of led into the final 3. I feel like if someone from Sega does win, it's going to be a very under the radar win because right now there's not a lot of content for them to need.
Yep.
And I could excuse their content being from days ago because the editors knew that this episode was going to result in Randon going. So instead show conflict from the last episode. I don't get why they wouldn't show the idol find instead showing, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
But maybe that's just how the cookie crumbled, right? Because Survivor is still a show and whatever. I could see a world where, like, maybe not Ben, maybe more like Maria, maybe Charlie, maybe someone else, a third person, or even Ben, could just sneak to the end and win after all the bigger threats kind of cannibalize on each other. Do I think that's going to happen? No. But do I want that to happen? Absolutely. I love the Sega tribe. They are my favorite tribe this season. I love their contrast of all loving each other when there's Venus and Yanu. But let's get to Ben in particular, because I think this was a really good episode for Ben.
Solid episode for Ben. Really quickly, should this be our next promise? Should we make a chart for all your theories? Because we've already made the graphic.
I will make this promise at some point before the finale. I'm going to go back to the Survivor 45 stock watch, and I will take a note of how many times we've mentioned crackpot theories or just said something absurd. And then I'll make a second chart of every time we've shown the visual or mentioned crackpot theories.
All right. There's your promise for the rest of the season, folks. Yep. Write it in stone. Another thing here, really quickly, back on your comments, and we'll get to Kenzie later, obviously. But yeah, I mean, this was a very important episode for Ben in the sense that he actually proves some strategic worth to his tribe by giving away that information and being very open about it. And I think that is a key reason why it was such a great episode for Ben, because we really started to see a little bit of that strategy coming into play. He's a vibe guy, right? He likes to rock out as who is that? That's
no idea.
That's I don't watch that Boromir from Lord of the Rings. I think it's Boromir.
Bro, I just know Metallica.
That I do know Metallica as well. But I think Ben, we saw a little bit of his strategic chops this episode, and I think that's really key because we've been waiting for that. And I think it's so important that we got it.
Let's talk about Ben's live for a second, which I was really happy with. So Ben comes back from the challenge. He knows he's lost his vote, but instead of saying that or explaining what happened, he just tells them, I might have lost it. I won't know until Tribal, which I think was a brilliant lie.
It's very safe and it's very smart.
Because he was also banking on Banu just going home. So there would be no way for anyone to fact check with anyone else on the other tribe. And so I don't know. I feel like we saw a bit of Ben's strategic chops, which is why I put him at 5 instead of 6. Both to his tribe and to the viewers, which I think is very important.
Absolutely. One more thing here on Ben. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this scene was definitely very important, but why did they not show that? And I think this is actually becoming a big theme of the season in an unexpected way. Why are they not showing very specific moments, right? Why do they have secret scenes of certain things, and why do they actually show things? So they're shielding Ben in a way, as Mona says right here. They're shielding Ben in a way as someone unwilling to engage in strategy. So clearly, there is a lot of importance with Ben with that secret team meeting hidden.
Yep. And when it comes to Stock Watch, I do not care about the secret scenes because I feel like they're extras and they don't matter towards a player's individual edit. I love the secret scenes. I want more of them. But when it comes to who I think is a potential winner, I just write off secret scenes entirely.
Fair enough.
What's up, Charlie?
We move to Charlie. Consider yourself undermined one tiny tiny little bit of Charlie in this episode, where he said he wants that idol for himself, and then immediately Jem finds it as he's walking around. Just a tiny little bit of undermining there, a little bit of doubt placed in our heads with that, but beyond that, nothing much else from Charlie. What do you think, Will?
I don't know. I think it's not uncommon for a potential winner to have negativity.
Yes, absolutely.
And when the Sega tribe is winning as much as they are and as kumbaya as they are, this could be like the negativity that Charlie needs for an edit, which I don't think is that bad, especially when all it is just an idol find. I don't know. It's hard to say with Charlie because we didn't see much of him or Sega or hear from any of them, which I'm kind of concerned about. But
Right.
at the same time, this episode was kind of an anomaly, and I'm still holding out for episode 4, personally.
Yeah, definitely. And it's going to be interesting to see what Charlie does going forward, but that's really all we can say. I mean, there was just a tiny little bit of him. And again, as Jay puts it right here, it's a bit of undermining is fine. Not only has undermining been a thing since Richard Hatch in season 1 of Survivor, but it's also very important in the new era because every winner has flaws. There is no real perfect winner anymore until we see that. You know, until we see that truly perfect edit, that truly perfect winner again, it will never happen again. We go to Jem, finds the stick, the beautiful stick. Hi, Jason. I love Jason. So she has a great episode, right? She finds the Beware advantage. She gives some light on it. My question is, if this was 4 days ago from the time we were shown it on the episode, right? What is it, like day 6, 7?
Depends.
Yeah. And this is 4 days ago, so we're talking day 2, maybe 3. Why are they showing at this episode, and why are they hiding it? Because there's no way... Right. There's no way that they just didn't have the footage for it and they just didn't cobble it together. There's clearly something and some reason why we didn't get Jem's idol or Beware advantage find in episode 2.
I might know. So
you might know. Maybe would you say it's a...
It is. No, so here's the thing. I feel like a lot of people who do these edits, they forget that Survivor is a television show, right?
That's very true.
This episode, on paper, is a very, very boring episode. Because looking at it from, the editor's perspective, Banu is freaking out. There's a journey, a challenge, and Randa gets medevaced, right?
Yeah.
And so you can't really place a lot of strategic content because everything will get undermined by Banu going, except for everyone on the Yanu tribe because they were planning for tribal, whatever. And so I think instead of showing Jem last episode, I think they made the last episode, it was just Sega was Kumbaya, that way they had their screen time, and then it was back to Venus and Tevin and just Yanu being a mess. And I think they waited until this episode because there was nothing else going on. And so that is the show answer, right? Now, does that mean that, them showing Jem's Beware advantage find, 4 days after the fact, is that negative or positive? I have no idea. Because I feel like it's building towards something else that we have to just wait for. However, I feel like Jem getting a lot of the screen time now mixed with her low-key gameplay in episode 1. I still think about that winter confessional. And, the editors, I feel like they always have like one small thing that's pretty obvious for a winner, but just gets buried, like Dee's name being at the very top. And
I mean, they didn't really say anything. I mean, just to talk about the intro in that regard, they didn't really say anything about the intro this season. You know, they didn't really say anything about what they were doing with that. But that shot of her holding her arms up in that victory pose, you may say, is a little indicative. You know what I mean? Mona says, my concern with Jem is lack of character moments. Even Tiffany has expressed more personal sentiments. I'm going to agree with Jay. It's still pretty early, but I do see the sentiment with that. I do see the logic with that. Does that mean every winner has personal content? No. I mean, we never got anything from Tommy except for he's a teacher, right? From Island of the Idols, our favorite example.
Edit was kind of weird.
Yeah.
No, like the thing is, like I feel like Dee last season was the most strategic winner of the new era, but
then she had personal moments as well.
A little bit.
She had one in episode 3.
However, I feel like if Jem is the winner, I feel like my little all the threats going out early could be true for her, because I feel like she's shown to be playing a low-key game, and I feel like I'm not counting out Siga yet, because I feel like Siga, they haven't had to have any drama or any strategy outside of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
I am a little worried that they're just getting shafted, but you know, who knows?
It's going to be interesting to see, and I think we really need to watch out for Jem in terms of whether she starts getting more content because of this advantage find, whether she dips after this advantage find, signaling it's just the I got an advantage at it, or Will's crack. I'm going to put that graphic in the ground. I'm going to use it too much. Will's crackpot theory.
Play it again.
But we'll see.
We will.
Maria is a ghost, and this is the one that we're torn on, right? Like we still think we both think Maria is the number one contender, but we do have concerns. You know, she didn't get a confessional this episode, and you know. Again, that whole new era winner thing of getting a confessional every episode. But why didn't she get a confessional this episode? And so that raises some concern.
Yeah. No, so I moved Maria up mainly because I was moving Hunter down.
And that's very fair.
And I don't think anyone can blame me on that. I don't know. I feel like Siga overall, they're all just under the radar players. I think that's their problem. There's no big strategic force outside of maybe Maria, but even then, she's in no way comparable to Tevin or Kenzie on the other tribes.
Right.
But she has, I don't know if she needed anything this episode, because again, we're dealing with a medevac. We're dealing with a weird episode already as is, where half the cast gets no screen time whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like it's a little more forgiving than if everyone got screen time except for Maria. Because if that was the case, I'd drop her down pretty far.
Right.
But I still think of anyone on Siga, she has the biggest chance to win. And again, we just didn't see much of any of the Sigas outside of Ben. So I'm not quick to cast judgment on Maria not getting a confessional. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, again, you said it earlier in this episode of Stockwatch. It's a medevac episode. It's a very unusual episode. It doesn't happen all the time, obviously. So it's a very important episode to just realize and recognize that some people are going to get confessionals. You know, we lost 30 minutes of Survivor screen time. We also had a medevac. We also had a journey. So some things get left out, and that's okay. The real tester is about next episode. And, you know, we always say that for everybody, but with Maria, it's especially important. Is there going to be something next episode? And if there's not, then I think there's a little bit of concern to be had. So
100%.
Mariah is also a ghost. She had a tiny, maybe like a sentence confessional. So it was nice to still hear from her, but man, have the mighty have fallen for me. I am probably about this close to taking her off. I really need to see a good episode for Mariah. And yeah, Jay, I think a lot of people, it's make or break, right? And so just, she needs something. I don't know what it is. She needs something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, this is very sad for me because I'm rooting for Mariah 120%.
Mariah is on your draft. And I got to say, Will, you know, for the trash picks you made last season with two of the quitters of Survivor 45, all two of them, you made some good picks this season, you know, some pretty decent picks this season. So I'm impressed that you're in second place in the draft right now.
Thank you. No, but the fact that we still heard from Mariah this episode and we heard from Mariah last episode when Siga had nothing going on,
it means something.
It can mean something. And that's why I don't think either one of us have completely written her off, because it's still possible for her to have a very strong episode 4. Maybe there's a swap coming up soon, or maybe there's when merge happens, she can still become a strategic tour de force. I don't know if she's the winner, but I do think that she can still play a strategic game and be more of an active player than she is so far, because right now the game on Siga is still very stifled because of just the kumbaya, because they're not losing, and there's no drama whatsoever.
Absolutely. I hesitate to say her story is resolved, Moda. I see where that comes from. I hesitate to say that fully. And a journey edit definitely could be in the cards for this. But again, you'd feel like we'd get more from Mariah if she was the winner, right? We haven't seen anything really about intentionally under-editing her, or like intentionally putting her to the side for her story. The only person that was that in the new era was Erica, and Erica had a big episode 4 where it was over the top -3, but it was a clear sign that something was different about Erica's edit. And so you wonder, with Mariah and with people that are under edited in general, you need more.
Yeah.
You need more, not in the sense that you need more good stuff, but you need more stuff. Because sometimes having bad stuff is good. So,
especially in the new era too. What's up, Tim? My
absolutely,
Wi-Fi dying.
Absolutely. Tim was not eliminated this. Okay, Banu. I'm kidding. Robot Will.
Hello.
Oh, Robot Me.
Oh.
Technical difficulties. Are we back?
Are we? What was that? Me or was that you? Was that both of us?
I don't know. I don't know. Was it both of us? That was kind of
Jack.
I'm kind of cutting out. All right. Well, I hope I'm good now.
Okay, we're good. All right.
All right. Am I good now? All right. All right. Anywho, Tim was not eliminated. All right, Banu. We'll go to Tim for like, but literally Tim. You put Tim last. Okay, I want to hear why you put Tim last.
Because I have a little more faith that Banu could somehow squeak by with Q.
There's no way in hell. There's no way. We just moved to Banu. Tim had nothing. We moved to Banu.
Tim had nothing for the last 3 episodes, bro. All right.
Okay. All right. Tim is on this season. All right, everybody. I think we're getting a little heated just because of Tim's literal lack of being on this season. He is the Purple Kelly. We are going to take a quick break. We're going to get an ad from KT Designs.
Hi, Survivor Now podcast listeners. I am Katie from KT Designs, better known as Katie Tedesco Art on both Instagram and Etsy. I have been designing and selling Survivor products for over 7 years at my Etsy shop, including replicas like hidden immunity idols and Survivor trading cards with all of the players' stats on the back. I am so grateful for Survivor Now for giving me this shout out and helping me reach even more super fans. I love listening to their podcast. So if you are looking for some really unique reality TV products for yourself or to give a super fan in your life, come check out my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/KatieTedescoArt.com.
Thank you, Katie. Liz is actually the owner of that shop, so shout out to Liz for owning Katie Tedesco Art. But again, Katie always makes great stuff. Go get some idols, man. Go get some meaning necklaces. Have a good time. We move to the star of the episode. In one way, another, I don't even know. It's Bhanu. Bhanu with an over-the-top medium 1000. Because Bhanu was clearly the person everybody is remembering from this episode. And I just had to throw everything I could find on here. You have the million hearts hidden in the back there. Bhanu's actor subtitle, Michael Jordan crying as you would. Bhanu's old picture, him with long hair. And then the picture with Texas says, when Party City didn't have any good costumes, so I had to take matters in my own hands. As his divine wrath, he invoked truly a revolutionary strategic player.
Okay, let's talk about Bhanu, though. You're so proud of your memes, bro, but like...
They're pretty funny, I gotta admit.
So, what are the odds that Bhanu is the winner of Survivor 46?
If Bhanu is the winner of Survivor 46, I don't even know. Like, that's the thing. Like, if I say someone is not the winner of 46, right? I think it was like, oh God, I think it might have been 44. I said if like, I don't know. I said someone is not going to be the winner of this season, I would never do it again. If Bhanu is the winner of this season, I don't even know what to do. I think I will literally just curl up in a hole somewhere because there's no way. There's no way.
But the fact that it's so negative.
Don't do it. There can't be any circumstance. I mean, Bhanu from start to finish was a mess this episode.
Yeah.
The only thing that speaks for him is they're trying to get all the content they can. And that is the Mergatory boot. Or he could be next. We have no idea. But they're really trying to squeeze just everything they can out of the cash cow. And we have to talk about public opinion as well, because I think people are getting things mixed up again in the sense that they're mixing personal dislike for raw entertainment. Like him or not, right? You're going to watch the show and you're going to be like, God, you're going to talk about Bhanu, right? If you talk about Survivor 46 episode 3, Bhanu is going to come up. And you like to watch him. You dislike watching him. You like to hate him. You like to like him. It doesn't matter. Bhanu is TV. And that is really the best thing you can say about Bhanu.
I do not like Bhanu. I don't like watching Bhanu at all. I hated watching this episode because it was just so focused on him whining and crying about how nothing's going on.
It was pretty tough to watch at points, absolutely.
But I felt alive watching the season because it's pretty uncommon where I don't like a Survivor contestant, and it's like I didn't really like a lot of the cast last episode. But that was more because I felt like it was way too vicious. This episode,
it was vicious.
It was just like I didn't like watching Banu, but then I log on to Reddit.com. I go on the Survivor forums.
Yeah.
And then I read about Banu. And then I just see the memes. I see the highlights, the stuff I didn't really pay attention towards. And Banu is hilarious. Unintentionally. But like everything, he's so over the top and so dramatic. And a lot of the comments Q made towards Banu too, like calling him both a liability and Philip Shepard to his face, with Banu just not caring and loving Q.
Yeah.
Is really funny.
It's just it's Banu. And Banu is the new era Philip in a sense. You know, like just crazy, crying all the time. Like, I think if we saw Banu win this season, this episode, we would have seen him take it back a bit, be a little more strategic, because he got called out at Tribal Council for using emotions too much, for being too emotional. Well, he went far and away against that idea, to the point where now he's so far off the deep end emotionally that, you know, he's trying to earn 1 million hearts, right? Like, he doesn't want $1 million. He wants 1 million hearts. And at this point, I don't even know what to say. I mean, do you know what to say? Does anybody know what to say about Banu that we haven't seen?
No, I feel like we know Banu at this point, and his time is coming. But what if he's a losing finalist?
Don't do it. Don't make me pull up the graphic.
All right, we can wait for the graphic. But
okay.
I also, Chris Dixon, I don't think Banu gets asked back because was it him that like talked about already wanting to like play for a second chance, or was that Randon? Either way,
I don't know. I think it might have actually been Banu.
Like when your whole story is I don't want to win, I just want to. I don't know. I feel like Banu is someone that can only exist in once, right?
Jay, I'm going to stop you right there, Will. There's no way.
No.
I really like the creativity. If that happens, journey edits are just the worst thing on this planet.
Yeah.
But
anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Tim. Oh,
it's Tim. Oh, maybe that's
Tim?
why. Maybe yeah. Sorry, who's that? We have a Tim on this season. Has there ever been a Tim on Survivor?
I don't know.
But
also, has an episode ever been like focused on one person as much as it has been Banu?
You can. I think a lot of people could argue that Tony, one of the episode where he blindsided Sophie.
I was going to argue that,
but it was purely for a different reason.
Yeah,
right. That was Tony's coronation episode as a winner, where it was him. He had 18 confessionals. I'm pretty sure.
Was that an episode?
It's got to be. It's got to be up there, definitely. But Banu, I mean, Banu was the star of this episode in a completely different way, and so this was not a coronation, rather a show, a night of theater.
Oh yeah. Also, that is the most confessionals in one episode.
With Tony?
Yep.
Wow. Well, there you go. Banu got 13 though. Hey, you know that's good numbers. You know, you want to get on Survivor, have you want to be on the screen. 13 confessionals is pretty good. That as well. We moved to Kenzie, who got severely undermined, and for all of the crap we talk about Banu. Right, for saying that Banu is just the worst at Survivor. He is. And is too emotional. He is. Any information for the other tribes is good information, right? Yep. Because it gives them something to work towards or work against. And with Kenzie, she was pinned as the power player on Yanu. And it gets to the point now where other tribes, if Banu did go home next episode, or things like that, Kenzie is the number one target because she is running the tribe. there is a little bit of debate, I think, with some people of, is this kind of a Jam Jam thing? Because Jam Jam, for all the credit we give him for doing very well, he was seen as the leader of Tika for the longest time. And then he finally kind of got rid of that as the season went on and as Carson started to make bigger moves. But Jam Jam did have that moniker. And is it the same with Kenzie or is it different? I lean different.
I think it's different because I feel like Jam Jam was more mixed with his edit because there's a lot of positivity and a lot of negativity. Kenzie's, I feel like, is just more negative. I feel like unlike the Tika 3, they're way too fractured to go into the merge.
Absolutely.
Because when you're down in numbers like Yanu, like with the Tika 3, like with Lulu, you have to be on the same page. Otherwise, you don't stick together. Or otherwise, you just fall. When Kenzie's going into the merge, being targeted by 2 tribes and Q of all people, that kind of just wrote off Kenzie there. Yeah. And I don't really think she's going to win. I do think she could have a lot more life left to live. However, even then, I could see her being the first of many power players that get sniped.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Chris is right here. I think everybody is looking at that opportunity. You know, we want to stop the Matt Singh Tika 3, maybe Reba 4. You throw in there kind of deal where the smaller tribe gets away with things and gets ahead just because there's not a lot of them. And so there's also this possibility. We should have taken around when we could edit. There's definitely this possibility because, for all the negativity that Kenzie is getting as a target, as a threat, there is that potential as well. She's a very important character on this season, no doubt. She's been a target for multiple episodes, and that could be that kind of edit in relation to Tiffany, in relation to Q, and in relation to Banu. So, what are you doing?
I'm doing the Banu hand thing.
Oh, all right. Next episode, I'm gonna have a picture of that.
Please do, bro.
That's my promise for episode 4.
Especially if it's a retrospective too. Oh my god.
If that's the retrospective, I don't even want to show the graphs. That is just going to be the entire slide.
Yeah.
That's going to be the whole slide. You don't even need to see the graphs.
Oh yeah.
Anyhow.
Yeah, we know Banu's graph, bro.
We know Banu's. It's going to be so good. Q is trying to play a little bit of savior complex, and following this, Q was the star of the episode in another way. Q was actually very important this episode in the sense that he blames himself for the challenge loss, wants Tiffany and Kenzie to vote him out, decides not to do that, decides to recruit Banu, who doesn't have a vote, to get rid of Kenzie. Randon gets medevaced, and then Q goes, oh my god, Kenzie was this close to going home. And I'm just sitting here like, what was going on with Q this episode? Because he was clearly trying to mold Banu into this perfect figure. And I don't know if he hasn't seen Banu before. I don't know if he hasn't ever really encountered someone like Banu as a real estate agent or general. But that man, you will never be able to rope that man in. But he's getting a lot of stuff.
So Q is the weirdest guy for me to rank.
Yeah, he is weird as well for me.
Because when you're like Zayn Knight and Mike Gabler, what does it really say about Q? But because we're living in a post-Gabler world,
oh my gosh,
I feel like him wanting to, was him asking to get voted off? Was that Q's a dunce, or was that Q's a good guy I feel like the Ed is trying to hype Q up as like being the hero of Yanu.
I think it's a little bit, but at the same time, Tiffany undermines Q, saying that is stupid. I don't know why he's doing that. And so, yeah, it's tough. I agree.
And yeah, no. And as much as I love Q, like trying to link up with Banu, as much as I want to entertain that because I think that's hilarious, he's not really Boston Rob. But I feel like what's going to happen with Q is I don't think Yanu is going to go to tribal. If they do, it's just to vote out Banu. Mm-hmm. I think Q, Kenzie, and Tiffany make it to either a swap or a merge where Q will try to take out Kenzie, but Q gets voted out and it backfires. I think I can see that argument with Q, but it's just weird because he's like supposed to be like the good guy, like the athletic, but then he's not. But then he's getting strategy, but then it's weird strategy.
There's a lot of ways to take it, right? There's a lot of ways to take it. Q, he could be the savior. He could be Banu's help for resurrection. He could be doomed in terms of not getting out Kenzie when he can. There's a lot of ways Q could go. I don't want to even say that next episode is going to be indicative. This is more of like this is probably a potential season theme, depending on how far Q makes it, is what is Q going to end up being? Because he is a lot. To put it quite frankly, he's a question mark or a Q. So there you go. I just won the stocks right there. But we move to the last player, Tiffany, who we've continued to say if anybody's going to win from Yanu, it's going to be Tiffany. We still hold that belief. I don't really think this episode was bad for her. I don't think it was necessarily good for her either. Maybe overexposure could certainly be an argument for why she doesn't win. But what do you think? Because I have her at 4 in the top 4 contenders, and I believe no, it's not for a while still. Soon enough, it's going to come down to 3 top contenders, and we're shaving off people as we go. So what do you think?
Yeah, no. So I do agree that if anyone from Yanu wins, it's going to be Tiffany. But I still hold my belief that I don't think Yanu is winning. I think they're way too cracked, way too dysfunctional. And I don't know. I feel like dysfunctional tribes very rarely can make it far. I think the last time we really had a dysfunctional tribe be successful was Tika, but even then they weren't that dysfunctional. And before that, it was Matt Singh. And so for that reason, every time I think about putting Tiffany a little higher than 6, there's still that asterisk. And I'm still cautious about Tiffany. But she does get a lot of really good and really rich content.
She does.
It's pretty good. It's really good.
Yeah.
And way too on the nose for a new era edit. Because I feel like she could be a decoy new era winner, which is a different vibe than
that's a whole nother can of worms, right? We've identified the new era edit. It's something different, but there's still occasional things that are really important in there that kind of tip us off. It raises the question, are they starting to put decoys in there? Because, we see Ben with a positive edit. If he gets a negative episode, that's a new era coded winner. Tiffany is overexposed. Shan edit in terms of pure raw edgic. Could we be seeing a decoy? I think you're absolutely right. I think there is high potential for that. But I'm still interested to see. I'm especially interested to see how Tiffany does with other tribes, right? Because it's very clear Kenzie is a threat to them. Banu's a mess. Q's a little bit of a question mark. Q's a little bit of a question mark, though. Tiffany, I feel like, is an even bigger question mark how does she interact with the other tribes? What will people think of her? And I think that's going to be important to see, because I do think she does make the merge, and I think she does make it decently far in. I wouldn't say like too crazy far right now, but she does make it, I'd say, to like past the double boot.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
My only fear too is that people are aware that her and Q are tight, and if Kenzie does, if the three make it to a merge, Kenzie's going to be like, "Hey, I'm also really tight with Tiffany." I feel like people who are more savvy could see that, like, yeah, Kenzie's the far out big threat, but Tiffany is more insulated. Also,
Right.
Chris, I disagree that Kelly was a decoy. I think she was just the other contender in 45.
Yeah.
A decoy is different. Decoy is like Jesse in 43, I think, is the closest.
Or you could say Carson as well in 44.
Carson maybe, or Ricard in 41.
Yeah, Ricard's a better
think-
example.
I think Ricard is the best example of, like, there's no one else that could even come close. Because at least with Jesse, people were like, it's way too on the nose.
Yeah.
Ricard, it was like he had a really good edit and on paper should be the winner. And so Kelly to me was always just the second contender. Like, if D doesn't win, it's Kelly.
But it raises the question for this season, not in a sense of, I mean, we obviously have, like, again, I'll talk about Tevin's Edgic script till the day I die. It's a great look on paper. CB4, Middle Road 2, Under the Radar 1. That's a great sequence of episodes right there. But now we're starting to get deep into the new era. You know, the Fangs have set. You know, we're in it now. There's clearly no backing out at this rate. It raises the question of, are they going to start throwing out decoy new era winners, right? Are they going to start throwing out people who would fit as a winner in the new era based on their edit, but it actually ends up being somebody else? And Jay's exactly right. It's a new era of editing. They're trying new things. We don't know what's going to happen. And that's going to be interesting to see, y'all. Here we go. That's your list. We got a lot of equals this episode, but we have some good episodes as well. Jam with a good episode with that Beware Advantage fine and getting content. Ben with a good episode as well, strategic content. Q getting a good episode. We're still questioning what happens with Q, but regardless, more content and just more complexity, that usually tends to be good. Venus with positivity, that's good. And you're going to hate me for this, so you're going to think I'm stupid, but I'm giving Liz a good episode as well.
Absolutely, I agree with that.
No, but you don't agree that I have her below Soda, and I've already said, why do you have this?
Oh, so that is just because of just how I made the thing. They both had the same point total.
Yeah,
because it's the, for those who don't know, this is the average of between me and Jack. So, like, Tiffany was number 4 for Jack, but number 6 for me. So she's at 5. That's why Charlie's higher. Yeah. It is weird, but I also think this is the most amount of slashes we've had in Stockwatch.
Yep, and they will continue to go, because we're, again, most vicious season of Survivor Stockwatch ever, and I think it will be a permanent addition, because, we were nice our past 2 seasons. We were giving people pluses and minuses, we were giving people things, and we were ruling a couple people out. Now we're ruling more people out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we're really trying to hit the nose on that going forward. Mergatory should take place after 2 more boots based on Edgic. Who do you think would be booted before Mergatory? Well, I mean, Bonu's got to go, right? I think Bonu's gone. And I think Tim as well. I think Bonu and Tim are the 2 most likely for me.
And I could see, like, Soda maybe going, or maybe Liz.
Yeah.
Depending. I don't know.
Any of the bottom 4, I feel like, could go. You could see maybe, like, Mariah go as well.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Not over Tim.
Stage. Right. We have stays. We have a lot of stays. Hunter is a stay, a mixed episode. Great for being endearing, bad for getting called out as a threat. Maria had nothing this episode, so we're still wary, but we think she's going to do all right. Tiffany had a stay, a lot of overexposure, but good signs. Tevin with a stay, nothing. And that's all the stays. We have a cell with Charlie. It's a small cell. I still think it's important to keep it. I think Charlie does make merge. I think he does make it decently far as well. So I think keeping Charlie stock is good. Just shave a little bit off. You know what I mean? Just preemptively. And we don't have any other cells. And then we have 2 double cells with Mariah and Kenzie. Mariah just continuing to lose traction. Next episode is going to be a real kicker for me if she doesn't get anything, or if it's bad to the point of miscontention, she's out. And with Kenzie just being labeled as a threat, and it's almost at the point where we may start saying Kenzie's out. So, any thoughts?
No, just again, you should buy the Banu stock. I feel like Banu is far and away the winner of season 46.
Banu was absolutely the winner. Write it. Put it down. Yep. Thank you, Jay. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Jay.
We go to the Edgic. Highest visibility, Bonnie with a 10, obviously. And Q with a 5 as well, The worst rating, Banu. I mean, duh. I mean, you could argue over the top negative. Surely you could. I did over the top medium. There were some positivity moments in there. And Kenzie with middle of the road negative. It's a little bit of a tie this episode. Thank you, Chris. We appreciate it. You're the man. Lowest visibility. So did Tevin, Maria, Tim with 1. No confessionals. Bad for Soda, obviously. Bad for Tim. Wait, who's Tim again? Is he in? No, I don't know.
I know. What?
Yeah, Tevin and Maria still have good chances, and we're gonna watch out for that. Best rating, Ben with CP positive. Just a really good episode again, and highlighted by that in the strip. Tip-offs. I saw this comment earlier. I wanted to keep it in mind. There's no Malcolm and Denise re-mention from Charlie and Maria, right?
Yeah.
That raises a little bit of concern for me, because if they really wanted us to focus hard on that duo, I feel like we would get just a hint of seeing them again this episode. Just a hint. We don't even need much. Just a little bit, right?
Yeah. But then we also just did not see Siga at all this episode, except for Ben's advantage or boat journey, right. Jesus, boat trip, gossip, whatever. And so, again, this episode was just very weird from an editing perspective, because half the cast got no screen time whatsoever, and the other half was just Banu. So it's something to keep in mind, not something to just write off yet, but it's also not the end of the world for Maria and Charlie.
Yeah, absolutely. 100% right. Gem, circumstance, or what we needed? That's going to be the big question. Are we going to get something next episode that's going to validate that? And I think that's incredibly important. And Hunter, to me, obvious episode that he wouldn't be the winner, but he can still do well. What do you think?
Yeah, no. It's just way too on the nose, way too clean, way too cookie cutter. Again, I think back to what's the one guy, season 44, fourth place, Carson. God, Jack.
You don't remember Carson, really?
I forgot his name, bro. All right, I know.
Oh my gosh,
800 Survivor players. All right.
And you forgot someone from 2 seasons ago that we talked about extensively.
Yeah, I remember Mike Barassi. Can we get Mike Barassi on stock?
Can we get Mike Barassi back on Survivor? All right, y'all. One more thing before we go. A little bit of well, 2 things before we go. Number 1, I want you all, you all have Instagram. I want you all to go on Survivor CBS. Yes. There is a post from 3 days ago with Lulu losing the 3rd immunity challenge of the season, last season, and going to Tribal Council again. Watch out for these, right? This was posted on Tuesday. and then the episode was Wednesday, and Yanu lost. These little previews, as much as, they're just teases for the episode, they are important because I wanted to see something really important. And the day before the second episode of this season, we saw Malcolm and Denise. So there are going to be themes present on that Instagram.
Yep.
Keep it in mind. They know what they're doing on there.
And while you're on Instagram, make sure you follow Survivor Now podcast. We cannot say anything, but be on the lookout because we are in for, in my opinion, the best week of Survivor Now podcast coming up shortly. So follow them, follow Jack on Jack Powell, @official Jack Powell.
Absolutely. And a thank you to everybody who's watched not only this episode, but for Survivor Now podcast in general. We just hit 1,000 subscribers yesterday, Wednesday. We want to thank you all truly for every bit of support you give us on Stockwatch and everybody else in the Survivor Now podcasting world. It really, really means a lot to us. And we truly appreciate everything you do. And we're just happy to talk with you guys about the show that we all love. So we really appreciate it. Will.
Jack.
This has been the Stocks.
I'm waiting for the day where you don't do like the arm thing and you're like, well, this was the Stocks.
No.
And then just stare off.
That won't happen. A quick thank you to Chris, Jay, Mona, and Frank as well for commenting, being active participants in the chat. And thank you everybody else who's viewed. Will, any final thoughts?
No, I mean, I've been really negative on the season, but I am very I feel like this is going to be one of those seasons where the pre-merge kind of drags. But once the tribes are together, I feel like we're in for a very explosive second half. And so I'm still rooting for my Sega people. I'm still rooting for Moriah. I don't care that she's getting shafted in the edit. And I learned my lesson last season with calling people losing finalists and drafting quitters.
Absolutely. So, you could say all your crackpot theories. Never gets old. Thank you all so much for watching Survivor Stockwatch episode 3. We truly appreciate your time. Thank you for spending it with us.
Yep.
And we will see you next episode for what is sure to be
a very vicious episode.
The end of Banu.
Or the end of Tim.